I'd rather be single than date a man making $70,000.
If a man came along, let's say y'all both make $500K a year. He's making $70K. He got a business plan. He got a vision. He's working towards that day in and day out. And you would have to look up at him on all the intangible. Does he get a chance?
No.
Women aren't just frustrated with dating, they're quitting altogether. Dating apps are running dry, social events are getting bleaker by the minute. We're all sitting here wondering just what the hell is going on. Say, for example, you're a man, you're grinding every day, you've got a plan, and you've got vision. You may not be at $500,000 yet, but you're building something real. You go out of your way to put yourself out there, getting social and meeting new people. In the midst of your mingling, you get introduced to a girl, and she's absolutely magnetic. She has this presence that makes the whole room tilt toward her. Sparks fly instantly. The banter is smooth, the laughs come easy, the eye contact lingers just a little too long. So now you're thinking, this is nice. The chemistry is there, and she is exactly what you are looking for. Happily ever after. The end, except you've now jinxed yourself unknowingly. Because that line at the start, that alone has set the internet on fire, making way for a much bigger shift. Hey everyone, it's Current Champ. Nowadays, it's safe to say that things in the dating scene are getting complicated. Hard to chalk it off as trouble in paradise when you've barely set sail towards it. Because relationships these days, they're tanking, all right?
I think the biggest problem with modern dating is that everyone thinks they have way more options than they already do, but then also everyone's looking for this perfect person, and the more people you meet, the less likely you are to be blown away by somebody.
Everyone has standards when it comes to dating. You may have a specific look in mind, maybe some conditions that are non-negotiable, or even a personality you gravitate towards more. It doesn't matter if you're picky or not. We are bound to want something from our partners. Some women want to be able to look up to the person they're dating, and there isn't anything wrong with that. Theoretically, a woman wanting someone with a certain degree of financial capacity should not be a problem. So let's take a look at the big role that money actually plays in love. As we've all known since the realities of life hit us square in the face, financial stability has always been an important indicator of a thriving society. Money is so intrinsically ingrained into our system that without it, there can only be so much that we can do. In fact, ever since 1200 BCE, we've been using objects like shells as a form of currency. You give away something of value, you get something worth that value. It's not rocket science. In fact, that same sentiment applies in many aspects of life, love and relationships included. But since money is entrenched this deeply in our everyday lives, plenty of people have run into money problems. Couples, even those who have been together for ages, are not immune to conflicts over money. As a matter of fact, One Fidelity's 2024 Couples and Money study reported that 45% of partners argue because of finances every now and then. Aside from that, a good 25% cited money as the biggest challenge in their relationship.
It's one of those factors that plays a huge role in most people's relationships, if not all, is money. All right? Finances.
Easy to see why anyone would want a financially stable partner. Marital disputes are largely influenced by a couple's shared life together after all. If you run into deep trouble with money, then the relationship faces a massive obstacle. And in America, so many people are one hospital trip away from debt and homelessness, driving a good chunk of the population to have their eyes on the sweet, sweet prize of financial stability. And here's the kicker. If money's the only scoreboard, then the men who are actually building something meaningful never even get a shot. It's like running a marathon where the finish line keeps moving further away. No matter how hard you train, someone else has already decided you'll never cross it. So suddenly, you're asking yourself, when did money replace love? If even men with $70,000 don't get a chance, what hope is left for dating today? One could argue that there can only be so much that you could ask for when it comes to love.
Can you leave me alone? You are so disgusting. You are so ugly.
Wow.
Get out.
Wow.
You are disgusting, you cheap, ugly loser.
And plus, how many manosphere memes have we seen where it's like the woman is saying, oh, you need to have a 6-figure salary, you need to be 6 foot tall and have a steady job. And then he's like, well, then what are you bringing to the table? And she's like, me. And he says, not interested.
Assuming you haven't been in hibernation for the past few years or so, then you've seen an influx of these kinds of memes. You get the deal. Men pointing out women's overly high standards. Women calling out men who hardly do the bare minimum. It's been a back and forth discussion with seemingly no end. And let's face it, these kinds of petty arguments probably won't ever go away. And if your aunts and uncles on Facebook still find it silly to trash talk their spouses of 3 decades, then conflicts like this are bound to return time and time again. Classic if you ask me. Women want their own thing, and so do men. So let's settle some scores and crack things down. Is everyone being reasonable or incredibly out of touch?
What I think the biggest issue in dating is today, regardless of gender. Everyone wants to be the baby. Let me explain. When I date men, they want someone to cook for them, clean for them, and take care of them emotionally. What you're describing is a mother. And then when I date women, it's like, I want someone to provide for me, protect me, and finance the majority of my lifestyle. That is a father. And the kicker is that domestic labor and then making enough money in order to support yourself and your lifestyle are not gender roles. They're basic functions of being an adult.
If you go and ask around some women about what their ideal man is, you're bound to get a variety of answers. Yet, there will usually be common denominators. I'm positive this isn't your first time hearing of women yearning for that tall, dark, and handsome kind of guy. And now certainly wouldn't be the last time you would hear a girl laugh among her friends and say she aims to marry rich. Of course, while in a joking tone, they do say jokes tend to be half meant. What is it that initially pushes girls to look towards this specific kind of man? The answer lies on what they consume day in, day out. The media, as you'd come to find, heavily influences girlhood. Even if you're not the kind to actively engage in fandom discussions or drone on in various forums about your favorite new series, there is a good chance you've gotten a glimpse at what women consume. Artists, shows, films, you name it. Women and girls of all ages have been entrenched in some form of media at one point in their lives, and a lot of the time, those pieces of media depict a very surreal fantasy for many girls. From childhood, a lot of young girls have watched or read their fair share of fairy tales. We've got a beautiful princess as the protagonist. And would you look at that? There's a prince, a literal dreamboat of tall stature. He is admired, revered, and has his fair share of treasures that can let a couple generations live comfortably. Of course, that's not to say every girl immediately dreamed of this, but you can see where we are going here. Early on, girls are made familiar with what is ideal. Someone respectable in this case being synonymous with good looks, a good heart, and full pockets. Not of trash, hopefully.
Should I write you? Should I call you? Should I just let these feelings fade? I'm thinking about you day and night. Why did you change your mind night and day? Day and night, I'm missing your touch. Night and day.
That right there is a familiar memory for a lot of women. Then as you blossom into womanhood, you get a bit more depth with the tales. Yes, they are cliche in their own right, but now you get to enjoy a bit of added dimension. Plenty of teenage girls have ventured into hit shows and films featuring handsome guys with serious money, never mind if they have questionable pasts. Or for those who preferred reading more, both traditional novels and ebooks aren't immune to having 20-something CEOs on the cover, either in a suit or shirtless. And guess what? Those are still on the rise even now. People have nitpicked them because really, when was the last time you've seen a young, muscular dude sitting on the director's chair? We are way too used to seeing balding old men in the position of power after all, but I suppose a girl could dream. So with all these fictional dreamboats with piercing gazes and stacked trust funds, you're bound to see some girls wanting to make those fantasies into reality. They'll go, this is true love, manifesting it. Then you see a perfectly photographed image of a tall dude indulging his girlfriend's luxuries. You get the women on dating sites explicitly stating their ideal partner's salary brackets under their bio. You witness some girls carelessly throw perfectly good relationships away, maybe because they didn't get the flowers or the pretty ring they wanted, or someone passing on a potentially good date due to overly rigid standards, jam-packed with non-negotiables and icks. From the men's perspective, the craziest part lies in the fact that some won't stop at just money. As mentioned, women have been privy to idealized fictional hunks. And what does that mean for guys? That means men are subject to height requirements of usually above 6 feet. Chiseled jawlines, muscular bodies, the type. Some are achievable, while others are a massive reach. Point is, high standards aren't inherently wrong to have. Men have physical standards too, and it is no question that women want to assert their types as well. We are all subject to catering to our own tastes, but with how open people are these days to having high standards, there are going to be people willing to go even beyond that. Women who want to keep receiving, even if they themselves offer nothing. Women who haven't quite accepted the truths of reality, leading to them pushing to have more and more. The concept of simplicity gets twisted into something bad in their eyes. There's no contentment, no satisfaction, so this kind of person will keep on demanding. Except real life men aren't perfect. Due to that, some women have difficulty putting faith in potential alone, focusing on the now. What worsens this situation is the amount of value people place on titles. Being a rank and file employee in a no-name corpo doesn't sound extravagant, and to many, neither are blue-collar jobs. This does play a role in how some women see the value of working men, because sentiments of prominent hierarchies have already been embedded in our societal norms. While there have been active efforts to unlearn some prejudiced beliefs about certain titles, it will take time for people from all walks of life to have this even, level playing field in the dating scene. Let's turn the clock a bit here and see things from the view of the women. You see, in the past, women were far more incentivized prioritizing survival and needs over their wants. Back then, as a woman, there were no rights to fight for because those rights haven't been put into place yet. Think of studying, working, even voting. Women acquired these rights later than their male counterparts. So the women end up turning to the men who can provide them what they need. As a daughter, you would have to count on your father to put food in the pantry, so your mother could cook and serve meals on the table. As a wife, you would then have to turn to your husband to get the resources you need to homestead properly. Your desires are secondary if they are even acknowledged. Life was different back then. People's lives were shorter, thus creating more urgency in keeping your legacy, your bloodline going. The script is completely flipped now in the present. With the advent of women's rights, women gained more opportunities that opened up more choices. That in itself signified freedom to be pickier, to not have to settle for less. Because of that, you're now more susceptible to seeing women wanting to indulge in life's luxuries, with some asking for a bit too much. And survival really isn't the peak standard anymore. That's just the baseline nowadays. So more women feel more open thinking about what's in it for them right now, because come what may, they have more protection and empowerment than they had, let's say 50 years ago. Decades ago, a wife could have been left behind willy-nilly. No compensation, no concern for her well-being moving forward. Try that now, especially with children in the mix. And you might just end up broke before you can blink. You may be asking, what's so bad about women focusing on the current moment? From the surface, this is a positive trait even. However, in some cases, it is worth noting that strictly adhering to this mindset means that these women will go for the men who have already achieved success, those who are already in the finish line in terms of career and financial acclaim. That drastically narrows down the options. Then if we take into consideration those successful men's own preferences, that leaves a near barren ocean for all these women to fish from. To add on to that, there's a glaring inconsistency with what some women want. They'll claim the desire for independence, to be the girl boss earning countless wads of cash. But then, when they get to that point, some still won't be willing to adhere to the grounds of 50-50. They won't contribute in providing, despite having rejected the traditional idea of women being restricted to caring for the home. Some still seek that extremely coddled version of the princess treatment, even if they earn more than the most cunning merchants of the olden days. This inconsistency makes you really wonder what it is that some of these women actually want. The decisiveness isn't there yet. So many people are scrambling to figure out what their end goal in dating is. Is it to level up your lifestyle along the way? Is it to build a family? Because in some cases, the woman, instead of holding out her hand to help pull a man up with her, she's looking down from the top rung, smirking, daring him to somehow leap to her level. And if he can't, he's dismissed, forgotten, invisible. That's not a partnership. That's not cooperation. That isn't a team. While independence is amazing to see, there are women who haven't struck the balance quite yet. They see life as a competition, a place for them to rise on their own, while mingling strictly with people of equal or higher status. Sure, the single life may be the path for others, but not everyone wants that in the long run. And believe it or not, it's obvious. Tell me right now why studies show that women in their late 30s and 40s report the highest levels of anxiety, depression, and regret. And then tell me why there's this hypergamy amongst women, the relentless hunger to date up. Once upon a time, women looked for a man just a little ahead, a man with enough stability to build something real together. But today, some want to skip that and head straight to the good part. Hypergamy doesn't give her more. It strips her of everything real. Frankly enough, it's a scam. The biggest one modern women have been sold. Once the honeymoon phase ends and the silence swallows her apartment, she won't just face loneliness. She'll face the haunting realization that she bet everything on a fantasy and lost the men who could have given her everything real, even if they aren't established. Because remember this, money buys people options. Those rich men this kind of woman goes for, they have the bigger privilege of choice. As mentioned, many women won't pass up on an opportunity to have something more than just the bare essentials. So he'll just move on and find someone new. And here's the cruel irony. Men rebuild faster. Studies show men remarry more often and sooner. Women, they're left with shrinking options, battling time and loneliness. It's a sickening blend of biology for those aiming to have children and the cultural aspect of men seeking women, mostly not for survival provisions. But we'll touch on that in a second. So while lifestyles and strategies have changed, their ways haven't fully moved forward with time, because whether you like it or not, relationships these days have more room for true partnership and equality. Both parties get to be spoiled. Both parties get their flowers. Both parties provide in equal amounts. Times have changed to give women a more balanced field to run on. Now that they're catching up, there's no longer excuses for women to lag behind on aspects they are now fully capable of excelling in themselves. Isn't that what we push for in gender equality? The idea that women are capable. It's true, and it's high time that we stop acting as if this isn't the case. Some will argue that the extremely high standards among women are still reasonable by we, but it won't be for others. What's concerning is that for these women, they are more willing to gamble on a fantasy rather than to take off their rose-colored lenses. Life isn't a hit movie, so it's time to grab the remote and switch that screen off. And now, one of the pressing questions is this: if women keep wanting more, then how will men match up? And also, what will even happen from there on? These thoughts also shine light on one important question. Are women staking claim to these high standards out of just malice and unchecked demands? Or have men offered too little to the point of boundaries having to be raised by a long mile? Let's look into what some of them have to say about men they've encountered. So, what is this so-called bare minimum? Depending on who you ask, what falls under this term can be wildly different. Someone's bare minimum can be having their partner open doors for them. Another's bare minimum can be their spouse updating them regularly whenever they're away. Some women want men who go all out, and some want ones who are simpler and laid back.
I wanna grab both your shoulders and shake, baby. Snap out.
Either way, the vast majority of women you'd ask will agree that financial stability matters heavily in a relationship. If you go to any forum right now and search up how much money you need to live reasonably, let's say in the US, you'll likely come up with figures of around $70,000 for two people, depending on the state you're in and your lifestyle. It is worth noting that for a lot of women, there are deeper rooted reasons behind their standards. In very patriarchal households, things like weaponized incompetence have proved to be a reality for a number of wives and daughters. Here and there, you might have chanced upon a girl ranting about her brother slacking off on chores again, or maybe a wife lamenting that her husband does said chores so terribly that she ends up shouldering it all in the end. It is a reality for many women, as long as the belief stands that some matters, like household chores, should be left to them alone. Some will reason that financial stability is the least men could offer to keep everyday life manageable. This is rooted in gender roles that are still tied to society today, even with active efforts to look past them in the modern era. Women have since been labeled as the supposed homemakers and designated caretakers. So if men fail to do their supposed role as providers, it brews quite a bit of resentment. Because easily, it is hard not to want more when there's still much left to be desired. Now listen to this, because it cuts deeper than most men want to admit.
Certain point. I am disciplined in everything. I'm disciplined in relationship with God, in my emotions, in my mentality, in my energy, in my body.
That right there is a verdict. Here's the three harsh truths no one wants to say out loud. First, women aren't rejecting men because of money alone. They're rejecting the lack of visible, tangible growth. Second, you can't Netflix, DoorDash, and scroll your way into attraction. Lastly, if your life doesn't compound forward, it compounds backward. And in today's dating game, stagnation is the fastest way to get silently cut. Let's face it, while women have seen plenty of changes in their views and lifestyles in the past few decades, men have experienced less change in comparison. Of course, we could just boil it down to men already having most of their rights from the beginning. And generally, since most men don't seek resources or survival from their partners, they will mainly focus on these two things, traits and values. As a man, you generally don't think about whether or not a woman could give you financial gain. To this day, you likely are still encouraged to take a huge mantle of the providing. Knowing that, you would likely be more interested to see if who and how this woman is as a person resonates with your preferences. Maybe you want someone blunt, or maybe someone gentler. Maybe you want a woman who wants kids, or maybe the opposite. Again, these preferences are perfectly fine to have. However, some men haven't taken into account the changing times. Plenty of women contribute now when it comes to providing for the family. There are millions of women who are professionals now, women who willingly become the breadwinners for their immediate families. A man can't be just a provider anymore. While it's true that there are women out there who still seek more traditional roles, many are already diverging from it thanks to the changes in culture and society. For a relationship to be genuinely stable, a man would have to match up and be equal with his woman, not just in finances, but also in the emotional and even mundane aspects. That means there's no time for men to slack off on chores anymore. Neither should you offer only basic human decency. Watching over the kids is no one-time thing. The bar is placed higher now, so it will take steady efforts to make your way up there. You have to ask yourself, are you actually building a man worth following, or are you just hoping someone won't notice the cracks? Because you have to remember, discipline isn't optional anymore. It's the new bare minimum. We can even say this is how it should have always been. If you don't have it, you're already out of the race. For the more feminine women, it's not about the dollar amount. It's never been about that. What they seek deep down is safety, security, and a home where a family can thrive. Think about it. A strong, masculine man isn't just his paycheck. He's the one who can lead, protect, and provide certainty for the household. He's the backbone, the anchor, the father your children can look up to. And this is where most women wake up and where most men get it wrong. You can have money and charm, but if you can't lead your family, protect your home, and plan for the future, your wealth means nothing. Most women aren't looking for Instagram perfect lifestyles. The ones looking forward to starting a family seek a man who can carry the responsibility of one, be authoritative, and create an environment where children can grow strong, safe, and cared for. Feminine energy seeks stability, security, leadership. If you're not building that, if you're chasing status or ego instead, you're silently being crossed off the list. If you believe you can still be labeled as an occasional helper in the household when mom is away, then you definitely are going to get overlooked. If women nowadays are taking their portion of what only men used to do, then men need to embrace the women's side of love and family as well. If you get married, your sensitivity matters. You've got to learn how to read the room and notice details any man of the past would have never bothered detecting. If you have children, your active presence will shape the kids' views and early memories. Women taking on traditionally masculine roles means men now need to share part of the leadership. In a 50-50, everything is distributed evenly. She does part of the providing, you do part of the homesteading.
I shouldn't have to tell him to feed his kids while he's taking care of them. I shouldn't have to tell him to watch his kids. I shouldn't have to tell him what to put the kids in when it comes to clothes. I shouldn't have to tell him where the clothes are. He doesn't even know my kids' teachers' names. I shouldn't have to manage his schedule and mine and my kids.
What are you talking about? Are there other bugs in your life?
Financial literacy is a motherfucker, man. You could have, somebody out here making 600, 700, 1.1 million, 3 million. Have a person out here making 70K, but he knows what to do with his fucking money and have more disposable income, more ability to move around than this fool out here tied up with this, that, and the third because they don't know what to fucking do with their money. Yeah, they may be driving the fucking Rolls or Bent or with a Richard Mille or having houses and shit, man, but you look at their paper, they spending habits, they liabilities versus their assets, they broke as fuck.
The problem lies less on the cash itself. Lots of men don't have a money problem. They have a discipline problem. In today's world, that's a death sentence. Because let's be real, you can fake rich with cars, chains, and rented lifestyles. But behind closed doors, you're bleeding out, drowning in debt while pretending you're winning. The uncomfortable reality is this: discipline compounds like interest, flexing rots like debt. And we're talking more than just financial discipline. We're also aiming for discipline in every facet of your life if your goal is to be a good man for your family. Don't buy into the biggest lie of modern manhood, asserting that image is power. The superficial appeal of your relationships will wear off the deeper you settle down together. Eventually, you'll have to offer more than what outsiders can see, something only your woman can recognize. We haven't even touched on the reality that some men are easily threatened. Threatened in the sense that they see women thriving and go, here she is, trying to one-up me. Okay, maybe they won't think like that word for word, but the idea is there. Some men develop deep feelings of inadequacy over this, making the formation and maintenance of deep relationships significantly harder. You try to match a guy like this with a super high standards, high maintenance girl, like I've mentioned a while ago, and you have the perfect recipe for disaster.
The number one red flag on a guy is insecurity, okay? When a guy is insecure, he is going to make your life a living hell. It's going to be like your worst nightmare, okay? Because when a guy is insecure, you can never be enough for him.
Perhaps in the past, you've tried to wrap your head around the concept of these men and their serious insecurities. Unfortunately, these feelings of inadequacy didn't come from nowhere, striking some unsuspecting guy at random. More often than not, paired with these insecurities is the difficulty to express themselves. Because while gender norms have parts that are favorable to men, there are also glaring downsides. Among those cons is the need for men to toughen up, to be this unfailing machine who won't break down and will continuously yield whatever resource needed. There is this pressure to be the end product already, to skip the steps and simply come out on top. But it will take only one attempt for anyone to realize that success isn't remotely easy, nor is it quick. You probably have seen that one saying that goes something like, men keep their journey a secret because people only care about the success in the end. And surprise, not all men have reached that point quite yet. What's sad, however, is that not all men are willing to put in the work to actually get to that point, all because of this lack of discipline, the lack of adaptation to change. Combine all these together, and it becomes glaringly obvious how hard it is for both sides to meet eye to eye. Taking that into consideration, it's easy to see how all these conflicts of interest led many women straight out of the large neon exit sign of dating. Plus, to make matters worse, it's not even just a women's problem anymore. It now applies to men too. Placing both perspectives on the scale, there are a handful of deeper societal issues that come into play here. Undeniably, there are women who are too demanding and entitled. At the same time, there are men who couldn't even deliver basic human decency.
Because I just can't do anything right, can I? I'm just the worst person in the world, aren't I? Why are you even with me? If I'm so fucking terrible, if I'm just a fucking terrible person.
Both of those people exist at once, and the existence of one doesn't cancel out the other. Meanwhile, there are still plenty of men and women who diverge from those paths. You can sleep more soundly, knowing they're definitely still out there. If you ask me, this is a much needed opportunity for everyone to do some self-introspection. Having standards was never bad in the first place. You should never let anyone treat you worse than a doormat, nor should anyone have to make do with someone else out of martyrdom or even pity. But upon having standards, it's important to make consideration for others, and practicality a standard too. Because while it is reasonable to aim for a financially stable partner, it isn't reasonable to want someone just because they can keep your wallet packed, or perhaps their reputation makes yours look good by extension. It's even less reasonable to completely reduce someone to superficial aspects of themselves, from looks, assets, and pieces of their background. On the flip side, being able to count on your partner isn't too much to ask for either. If you're out there working the hours and ensuring your loved ones are provided for, then you do deserve to have some of the burden lifted from your shoulders once you get home. However, if you are delivering absolutely nothing of value, it's safe to expect that your partner would want something. They would want more from you. Relationships are meant to be a give and take. Otherwise, they would be no different from a parasitic connection. Take into consideration that you also need to be wanted by the person you want. Finding that right fit is difficult. The problem is sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and ask for too much when we couldn't return this same energy ourselves. Lag behind the changing times, and you'll find yourself at multiple rough crossroads before even realizing it. And guess what? Something I discovered today completely flipped how I saw the game. You'll see the truth most people don't say out loud, and it's gonna make you think differently about attraction and connection forever. Here's the tip no one's telling you, but everyone needs to hear. If you wanna win in the dating game, it's not about flexing money, looks, or social clout. It's about stacking real, undeniable value inside yourself. For men, your first job is discipline, not just at work, not just in a project, but in your life, your habits, our relationships, and your future family. And a woman doesn't just want someone who can write a check. She wants someone who can decide, protect, and provide certainty for the household. The everyday essentials are a bare minimum. To go beyond that, you need to make an active effort to make your home a stable one. That means being more emotionally open and sensitive to those around you. Discipline, vision, emotional control, and the ability to build a legacy, that's the invisible currency that actually attracts a high-value woman. So stop settling for women who see you as competition. You are not her rival. You are supposed to be her rock. For women, your power lies in decisiveness and alignment with high value. Yes, beauty signals health and appeal, but it's also about energy, presence, and the ability to be firm with your choices. Once you're in a serious relationship, there's no more room to play seesaw with what you actually want. Have firmness with your choices and be more in touch with who you truly are. Know what you want and have offerings of equal value, and the high quality men will find their way into your life. Don't let culture trick you into believing you can have both complete dominance and love. You can't, because love survives only in humility, sacrifice, and togetherness. The brutal truth most people ignore is that the dating game is more so biological than transactional. This is truer now than it ever was before. Both sides have more freedom of choice. The need to conform to societal pressures and resort to transactional relationships lessen by the day, with more advocacies and calls for acceptance. That means men and women have to communicate from the get-go, asking, what do you really want in a partner? Remember, your preferences have more weight now in your choices. Think critically and analyze what you want and what you have to give. Understand what other people want, then keep an eye for the people whose traits fit well into your needs in a relationship. It's difficult, but that's the advantage in today's dating scene. People are more honest about what they want, and you can sift through for who could be right for you. Sure, the crevices are tighter to slip through, but it's worth it when you reach the person whom you resonate with deeply. So here are questions you need to reflect on, and it's not for the faint of heart. Men, ask yourself, are you leading from strength and purpose, providing substantial resources? And if you can't fully provide and you choose to relent some of your leadership to your partner, define your boundaries and leave the rest for discussion. Women, if you have a solid standard, would your ideal man see you as his ideal woman? If you want a man who makes more, are you willing to now come to terms that he may have desires out of your control? And if you are down for 50-50, would you still respect your partner as a man outside of what he makes? Are you showing up as the kind of woman who builds, supports, and elevates life together? And the main takeaway here? Figure yourself out first. Yes, this is cliche advice you've heard this time and time again, but this is a solid tip for both men and women. Know who you are, your boundaries, what you're willing to compromise, see compromise for a pashmat, and what you have to offer. Other people's desires are out of your control, but your wants are completely yours to decide. Gauge life's realities and your personal needs. Once you've figured that out, you'll understand exactly what you're looking for. No more dilly-dallying, no more sugarcoating. It is easier to try and get a good partner once you've grounded yourself to reality and the modern era. See it this way. You work on being an indispensable person, and your network will eventually lead you to a partner of your caliber. Relationships are all about balance, so remember that both parties need to be good for each other now and in the long run. Is it hard to get started and keep going? Absolutely. And it's supposed to be that way so that you can do some reflection while also assessing what you have in front of you. Because the moment you have more to offer, you may expect more people being open to shooting their shot. So wake up. The dating world isn't about who's lucky. It's about who's ready, who can lead, who can stand their ground, who can thrive, and who is stacking value that actually matters. Be honest about what you want, but also be honest about who you are. If there's any time to be transparent, it is now. Are you going to be the one left behind or the one finally snapping into your senses? We've peeled back the curtain on what men and women want, as well as the things we all need to master. But what we're about to dive into next is going to get even heavier. The truths about leadership, discipline, family, and long-term attraction aren't easy to swallow. And if you think this was eye-opening, you haven't seen anything yet. If you like this discussion, stick around for more, because here we dive deep and we will unveil the... Once again, it's Current Champ. Peace out.